Today's video is about what it means to have a warrior mindset. And there's a few things you have to understand about what it is not required to have a warrior mindset, or what doesn't include having a warrior mindset, because people will misrepresent the idea of being a warrior as gratuitous violence. So we need to debunk some of that. First thing, having a warrior mindset does not mean that you have to actually be a warrior. You don't have to be a military combatant or a law enforcement officer or a professional fighter to have a warrior mindset. The mindset refers to the way you respond to and react to violent encounters, not whether you're a professional at it or not. So let's lay that out to begin with. Second thing, warrior mindset does not mean that you have a love for or a desire for violence. It does not mean that you're looking for a reason to be violent. In fact, anyone who is professionally engaged in the sciences of violence will tell you exactly the opposite. As one of my former grandmasters used to say, best defense, not be there. And that was his way of saying, if you can avoid an encounter, do so, because avoiding is your best way of remaining unharmed. And that's a universal truth about violence. Anytime you engage in violence, even when you're the defender, there is a risk that you're going to be harmed. It doesn't matter how well trained you are. You can be the best fighter in the world, and there's always a puncher's chance, which means that, and that's a boxing term, a puncher's chance refers to the fact that if you can still throw a punch, you've got a chance to win the fight. So in order to overcome that possibility, just don't engage in violence if you can avoid it. But avoiding violence is not the same thing as giving in to violence. If someone comes at you with hostility and a desire to commit real violence against you, you need to be prepared to overcome that. And that preparation in all three aspects, emotional, psychological, and physical, is what it means to have a warrior mindset. So another thing that comes with having a warrior mindset is the ability to control your reactions. Emotional reactions are not the same thing as learned responses. So if you're responding emotionally, that can't be logical. One of the things that I like to say about the field of psychology is you cannot resolve an emotional response, an emotional problem with a logical response, and you cannot resolve a logical problem with an emotional response. And that is especially true when it comes to reacting to someone else's violence. You have to respond from a learned position. The physical aspect of having a warrior skill set or warrior mindset is not paramount importance. It is obviously the mind that has to be prepared first. But what I have learned over the years is that the more people develop a skill set, physical ability, the more they become comfortable with that physical ability, the more they become confident in their ability to use that skill set. And that confidence is what gives them a sense of boldness. And boldness is necessary to face down the potential for violence. You have to be bold in order to be brave. And you have to be brave at least enough to face the attacker in order to overcome the attacker. But the mind has to be prepared first. And that's that ability to perceive what it's like to be under attack emotionally, to feel the adrenaline, to feel the fear, to feel the anger, and be able to turn those emotions into usable reactions. Learning how to do that gives you the ability to face any of life's challenges. When you develop the confidence that you can face down an attacker, that confidence stays with you as a person. And it changes how you react to the situations around you of any type, not just those of physical violence. So how do you cultivate the ability to engage with someone who's threatening you with violence? It has to start with being able to visualize what it's like to be under attack. to feel those emotions and visualize your response to it. You have to be able to emote in those experiences. You can't mimic it perfectly. I'm not saying that is ever possible, but you need to get as close as possible. And that needs to happen during your training. Apply those emotions. Come with intensity. Come with some anger. Come with a mindset of this is exactly what I would do if forced to. If you don't do that, then what you're going to do is you're going to freeze when faced with violence. And I'm going to tell you 2 stories about people who froze during a case of violence. During my time as a law enforcement officer, there were not 1, not 2, but 4 instances of people who were being victimized by criminal offenders who took a firearm that they legally had the right to possess and encountered that offender. And on all 4 of these particular occasions, not only were they not able to use the firearm to defend themselves, because they froze, the offender was able to get the firearm away from them and then use it against them. 2 of those people were actually shot with their own firearm that they brought for the purpose of self-defense. And it's because, as I said, in the moment of need, they froze because they weren't mentally prepared for it. They had not really worked through the situation and thought about their own ability to engage in violence. Another story is a little more personal. I had a conversation with a young lady that I'm close to about a situation she faced where she thought she was under imminent attack and was fearful for her life. And we've had this discussion twice, and on the second occasion, I asked her, I said, in that moment when you knew I'm probably in trouble, what did you feel? And she said, defeated. That was her instant response. Defeated, I felt hopeless, I felt useless. And I froze. And unfortunately, that is the most common reaction style for most people. We talk about fight and flight because they rhyme and it sounds cool to say them together, but the 3 most common psychological reactions to being under attack or while in fear include freeze. So it's fight, flight, and freeze. Freeze being by far outweighing the other 2 combined. You have to cultivate that fight reflex. You have to train it. You have to become comfortable with it. You have to become intimate with what it feels like to fight for your life. And her story re-emphasized that to me about how important that is. And as a martial arts instructor, that is something that I try to add into our classes. When we're training, I'm not regularly, but frequently encouraging the people. You've got to come with intensity. You've got to come with vigor. You've got to go everything that you have into this, because it's not just a physical strike. It's the emotion of overcoming the other person. And when you can combine those 2 things, a physical skill set, which includes the confidence and the boldness to use it, and the willingness to do it, then you have a warrior mindset and you're able to defend yourself.